A very good afternoon. It is a very lovely Sunday to have you with me. This is Nora Osende, and you are watching Her Moment. Today, I'm going to introduce to you a very phenomenal lady. She has traversed the spheres of academia, but more than that, she has the biggest heart for women. She is one lady who once said, "What am I here for? Where am I going? And what is my purpose here?" This is a lady that you would want to meet, and I wouldn't want you to miss her. She's none other than Dr. Emily Comfort Maractho. I am so glad to be talking to this lady this afternoon, and trust me, you'll be glad to meet her. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with her.
Having my mother with me for my PhD graduation in South Africa, and she was very proud, and and my supervisor was telling her all these nice things that I didn't recognize myself.
An academician, public policy expert, woman's advocate, senior lecturer, she's never been this up close and personal.
When will you get married and all of those things? It's like, do you think men will want women with a lot of degrees and so on? And it was painful in a way, but I said, well, I wouldn't want a guy who doesn't appreciate me with all my intelligence and everything. So I don't want that guy.
Surely.
So I don't care.
Yeah, surely.
Dr. Emily Comfort Maractho opens up on her moment. She talks about the events in her life that led to this moment, her superpower, and that one thing that dampens her spirit. Let us get to know who Dr. Emily Comfort Maractho is this Sunday on Her Moment.
Welcome back. Like I said, my name is Nora Osende, and I'm here with Dr. Emily Comfort Maractho. Dr. Emily, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Nice to have you, Norma.
Oh,
and nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
I've been well, thank you.
Dr.
Very
Emily.
well. Just call me Comfort.
Oh, really?
Yes. Actually, the funny thing is, if you go to my hometown
Yes.
and look for Emily, you won't find me.
Oh, really?
And if you go to work looking for Comfort, you won't find me. So you have to know that Emily and Comfort are different people in different places.
Oh, all
Yes.
right.
So my hometown, it's definitely Comfort. Ask anybody and say, I'm looking for Comfort, you will find me.
Okay. So now that you've talked about your hometown, where is your hometown?
My hometown is in Nebi Town. I grew up in Nebi Town. My mother comes from Papach. I grew up a bit in Papach as well.
Yes.
So Nebi has been our home for as long as I remember.
So that's where you grew up from?
Yes.
You studied in Navy too?
Yes, I went to Nebi Primary School up to, in between went to Paila Demonstration, still in Nebi District then, current Zombo District, and did my P7 in Nebi Primary School.
Oh, okay.
But then I went to many schools, my goodness. It's hard to talk about that. I went to like 4 schools in secondary. So S1, I went to War Girls in Upper Zombo there.
Mm-hmm.
S2, I went to Angal. SS in Nebi, close to Nebi Town. And then S3 and 4, I did in Muni Girls in Arua.
Okay.
And I went to Mvara SS for A-level.
Oh, wow. But you know, that brings a question. How many languages do you speak? Because you have been like in Navy, Pakwach.
Well, Nebi Pakwach is really one language.
Yeah.
We don't speak different. I know the people from Pakwach like call themselves Jonam, that they speak a different dialect, but it's really the same.
Yes.
So it's not any different. And my time in Arua was really at school where we were better not to speak vernacular. So I never even learned Lugara. So
Oh, really?
unfortunately. But it's not because we were beaten at school. I just don't learn languages.
Oh, really?
Yes, even when I've paid to study French, I desperately wanted to speak French. I paid, studied, and I still don't speak it. So
Isn't that interesting?
So I can't learn a language. I've accepted that that's probably not going to happen.
Okay. And then you finish your O-level.
I finished O level in Muni Girls and went to Mvala SS and came to university, to Makerere.
Mercury University. What did you
Yes.
study at Mercury University?
Now that's the thing.
Yes.
I studied development studies. I did my first degree in development studies and I really enjoyed it. At the time, development studies was new. I think we were like the second lot to study development studies.
Yeah.
So the course was in between political economy, economics, and sociology. It was literally a bit of everything. So I got really interested in political economy and did more of the economics than and the politics than other things. So it became like the area I was most interested in, like public affairs. Did a lot of current affairs, and so it sort of defined what I would do. And as soon as I finished, I started working for a research company.
Okay.
Yes. So my first entry into work was research, and I really enjoyed it. They were doing market research largely. It was a very big company.
Okay.
AC Nelson, they're still there doing market research. And I worked with them for about 6 months, but by the end of 6 months, I already had a job in government. So I moved from them to government. Then Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited. So I worked there for a while. But yes, so while at UEDCL, I did my master's again in development studies like the next year.
Yeah.
So I did it while studying, while working. But also I was now teaching part-time at Makerere. And eventually I decided I just wanted to be an academia and resigned from UEDCL.
So, actually, what instigated that? Before we go to that, after doing your research work and you decided to go back to Makerere.
No, I didn't go to Makerere for my master's. I studied at Uganda Matters University. I was very fortunate. Belgium Technical Corporation was giving out scholarships, and I got one to study a master's in development studies. But even by then, I was already writing for newspapers.
Yes.
So the part of me that was passionate about media was always there. So I was writing for newspapers. I was producing a magazine for National Planning Authority on NEPAD. Then NEPAD was a new thing. NEPAD is they were doing African peer review mechanism. So I was both a rapporteur and also producing their magazine solo. Nobody was helping me. So I then figured I really wanted to be in media, but also I wanted to be in academia.
Yeah.
So I finished my master's and took up teaching at Makerere full time.
Yes.
And also started teaching at UCU at that time.
Okay.
In 2007-8, I started teaching also at UCU as well. So I was between Makerere and UCU for a while. And then I decided that I wanted to do another master's in communication because my passion was not just going away.
Yes.
And everybody was like, what do you need another master's for? And I said, that's what I want. And so,
Exactly.
without even a scholarship or anything, I applied to Daystar University in Nairobi and resigned from, and applied for unpaid leave for 5 years from UCU.
Wow.
And just left, went to Nairobi and started studying communication and media. By the time I finished my master's there, which was really enjoyable. I'll always be thankful for that opportunity to study in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I got so engrossed in the media that the media was very vibrant. I got to go through to monitor elections, the 2013 elections in Nairobi.
Wow.
It was really amazing, and I learned a lot, both about myself and about my passion for media, and decided that I wanted to do my PhD in media as well. Initially, my intention was to do a PhD in development communication and just stay around with development. And then I just enjoyed media so much that I decided to completely switch.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't enjoy media?
Yeah. So then I went to South Africa to do a PhD in media studies, media and cultural studies. And but what I did was to try and now get a link between my development passion and the media.
Yes.
So a lot of what I do for media has to do with development, and a big part of that is really women. I see women as victims of development projects that are not working.
Yeah.
So It gets. Sometimes I'm not conscious about it, but every time I write, every time I talk to people, women is a big part of what I do. And so my PhD was also on women.
You have a very big heart for women, I must say. I've read some of your articles, and as we're offset, the first thing I told you is that you have a very good heart and big spirit for women, just by reading your article. Like the one that I read when you actually shed tears when they were giving women awards for their courage, and
at the American ambassador's house.
And
I got that.
yes.
I got the internet.
And for me, I was just like, wow, this is any woman's ideal best friend, because for us women, all we want is a friend who can be there for you, feel for you, stand with you. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if there is any woman that would be called the ideal best friend of a woman, it is you, Comfort. It is.
That's so sweet.
So that whole article, and it just got me thinking. Wow,
that was a long time.
What a very gracious spirit.
And that was before I actually studied media at all.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. So you were bound basically to end up that way. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it is quite intriguing how you married development studies to media, and then you kept on pushing in the academia, but away from the academia. What is that in you that just kept like, I need to do this, I need to get more into the media, especially in regards to women?
Yeah, I think women face a lot of challenges. I think I must have benefited from growing up in a rural place. When I was growing up, maybe it was really a very small town, very, very small.
And how were you, like, as a child? Were you like the jumpy one? Were you like the one that questions everything? Or were you like the one who is like, oh, I am so disciplined, but when the parents are not there, you do something else? You know, all these sorts of things.
Somebody recently asked me, but how exactly did you rebel when you were young? And I started thinking, okay, how did I rebel? Well, I loved music a lot.
Yeah.
So I would listen to music, and every time there was music on I always listened to radio, and I would get to sing the songs very quickly. And so my mother would be like, if only that energy you use for singing songs you would use for studying your books. You would do so well. And then I would be like, but I'm doing well. So anyway, that I grew up very much at home.
Yeah.
I wasn't the child that visited friends or families.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed home most of the time.
Yes.
And I loved reading novels. So every time there was a novel to read, I was happy. But yeah, so growing up, seeing women work so hard for so little, I think really influenced me. And on top of that, my mother really worked hard.
You grew up with both your parents?
Not really. My father and my mom had separated, so I grew up with my mom. My mom had remarried, so I grew up in that family.
Yes.
But I saw my mother really work hard. She was a civil servant in the local government, and every time I went to visit her office, people had such high respect for her. She was a very humble person. But I always wondered, how is it that all these people respect my mother so much, from the chief administrative officer to the lowest person? It's like she was really something. And yet she was very humble and nice and polite and everything. So she did influence me. Through her, I was able to see the capacity for women to do so much.
Yeah.
She was a pillar in her own family, and they're a family of girls. My mother, all of them are girls.
Oh, really?
Yes, there are 6 girls.
So you have like lots of aunties.
Yes, lots of aunties, and I almost grew up with all of them. You know, one holiday here, one holiday there.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of women working hard who influenced me, and so I started to understand their individual challenges and their friends' challenges. And I always thought maybe the world is a little unkind to women, that they do so much,
Surely.
but they really get very little recognition for what they do.
Yeah.
So I started being active. I was aware of the injustices society had on women, and that perhaps is what has influenced my choices. Yeah. But also I think my mother succeeding in her workplace, and that made it possible for me, because when I was growing up it was not common to see many successful women. So it made it seem to me that, well, you can actually succeed. But my cousin was I wish I didn't have to mention her name. But my cousin was a judge.
Yes.
And so every time she came home, my mother would go to visit her, because when she was in law school, she would stay with my mother sometimes. So they are close. They're a bit of age mates.
Yeah.
And so every time she visited town, she would call my mother to visit, and my mother would take me along, and she had this nice government car with escorts and everything, and I would be like, oh my God.
This also happened?
Yes, she was sweet. She was very humble and simple.
Yeah.
But she had all this symbol of power and with escorts and she really liked me. So when I came to campus, she was at the High Court then. She would invite me to visit the High Court, and I would just sit in the background. She would make for me tea, and sit in the background and watch her work. She would be on phone. So I got really inspired just watching my cousin.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice that actually when we have women who are role models in our lives, they can actually influence the decision that we make as young women, you know?
And without intending to. She never had to tell me, you have to do this, you have to do that. Just opening space in her chambers for me to be able to visit whenever I could, to be able to sit and watch her, admire her, to invite me to her home every now and then. I think that really, if there was one single thing I can say made me aspire, it was that.
Oh wow!
That despite her position, she was just
still the same humble person that she is,
and she still is.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Wow! So I get your picture. I get the picture that of these amazing women in your life. Your mom, who was still, they had made it at a time that. That actually there are not so many women that were in such positions.
Yes, and when I said they made it, they were not big people. My mother was an accountant.
Yeah, actually, you see, the role of the word made it, our society has kind of made it a little bit, seem like it.
Like you have to be driving a hammer to be known to have made it.
So, but why don't we take a break and then we'll be right back and then we see how this goes. It's a very good afternoon. You are watching Her Moment.
In the past, women were considered housewives, housekeepers, and many other things denied any opportunity. Today we are great witnesses of the transition from the kitchen to the big offices and places of great responsibilities. Now Record TV has brought you a show, Her Moment, going to awaken, motivate, and inspire all women out there every Sunday from 5 to 6 p.m.
Welcome back. This is Her Moment. I'm so excited on set to be with Dr. Emily Comfort Maractho. And just before we went off, we were discussing and talking about different things. And let's get back to Comfort. Now that I'm not calling you doctor.
That's better.
Yes. So where are you now in regards to your career?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not planning to go back to school anytime soon.
I mean, you have a PhD. Is there anything after that?
Yes, you don't stop learning.
True.
Still planning. There could be a postdoc, there could be another MA, who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm not planning on that now.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now I am at Uganda Christian University. I teach, and also I'm a senior lecturer there. I head the Department of Journalism and Media Studies. We recently got a faculty, and so our faculty is called Journalism, Media and Communication. So I head the Journalism and Media Studies Department, which is a big deal for me because originally I was not from media, although I spent so many years studying the media.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying my work because I meet so many students who are passionate about what they are doing. I think journalism, unlike most professions, attracts people who really want to be journalists.
Exactly.
And so majority of the students push themselves, contrary to what you hear that they are not good enough students and whatnot. I have seen brilliant students in that place, and that has really been gratifying.
Yeah.
It has given me energy to work hard, and we have a lot of opportunities. We at least get to send a student on an exchange every year. This coming September, we will be sending 2 students to Korea for a full semester exchange. And we have a partnership with our Norwegian friends. So there's so much going on. You can never be bored in that place.
Oh yeah.
And the students make it worthwhile. For once, I go to class and almost my students are there 90% to attend the class, and they're participating, and you're like, oh great,
90%.
Oh yeah, they are so committed, and it's really gratifying.
I think they also like their
teaching
teacher.
enjoyable.
They also like their teacher. That's one thing for
I
sure.
think about that, but yeah, but there are also the rules. Of course, they have to attend class. If you don't attend class, you won't get marks and ABCD and so on. But in the end, seeing that level of commitment makes it harder for you, the administrator, because you have to do your part.
Yeah.
You have to ensure that your staff are doing their part, and that's never easy, really. But at least I am also lucky. We have a really great team headed by Professor Chibita. We are a very good team. The entire team is just wonderful to work with.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So when you are in class and you have all, what's the majority of the females in comparison to the males in your media classes?
Incidentally, we have almost more female in our classes. Yes.
Isn't that nice?
It is, and I'll tell you this: the girls really perform well.
Wow.
They do very, very well, and sometimes we have to really. I guess when I was talking about being inspired by my cousin and so on, I guess also for them they get inspired by the fact that there's a number of us ladies in the faculty. Actually, the entire faculty is headed by women. The dean is a female, I'm female, the other head is female. And so,
yes.
But we have 2 coordinators who are male. So it really, we attract a lot of female students. And that's why for the most part I always say that the problem is not that we are not training enough women.
Yeah.
We are training women to be journalists. The problem is that they get sizzled out in the field. So they complete their degree, perform very well, and then they're not in the newsroom. They're getting jobs into other organizations and so on. So it's not a problem of training, it's a problem of the media environment itself and how receptive it is for women, the issues that of harassment and ABCD. So those are the issues that keep women away from the media, not for lack of training. At least where we sit, we train every year. We have at least 120 plus of intake, and close to half of that, or more than half of that, is usually women.
Wow.
Very enthusiastic young women, passionate, and doing well.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes.
I was reading sorry, I was reading one of your articles on the Women's Day, and then you wrote about how the whole legalistic
too
thing.
much.
I'm reading too much.
Yes.
Isn't that what you have been doing over the years? You know? Isn't that what you're advocating for? I'm just simply following some of the inspirational things that women do.
Okay, go ahead. Because I think that we have to be in a place where people are not judging us by saying we don't have enough viewpoints, or we are not good enough, or we don't know what we are doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are too many women who know what they are doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this article that you wrote about the legalistic thing about women, of putting women, for example, when the Honorable Speaker Rebecca Kadaga talked about having 30% women having contracts in Parliament, and you went ahead and you're like, okay, we need to do a little bit more than have these legalistic provisions that will, help advance women. And to me, that just like caught my eye in a way. And I didn't want to go down that route, but I feel like it's something that you could actually talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, in the process of doing my PhD, I went into policy review, looking at affirmative action, and I had interviewed a lot of women and also men in the media, and one of the reasons, and like I told you, women are not on programs. Women's voices are not there, not because they are not given opportunities, but sometimes they don't want to be part of the process. And so I ended up doing a lot more reading into the laws, into the provisions for affirmative action, into the practices we have had. And I found that at the end of the day, women might even be educated, they might know what to do, but the fact that they have been elevated through this process make them beholden to certain powers that be, and so they are not willing to be controversial. They are not willing to say things that are bold. They are not willing to be out there.
To come out there, exactly.
So for most of the political churches, I was looking at political programs, political affairs programming, and for most of those programs, you hardly find women, and yet today there are more women holding very powerful portfolios and more women working with them who should be able to articulate their concerns, the concerns of women. And so we look at women's empowerment sometimes from a very above view, above board kind of view, that we need contracts for women, we need spaces for, but who is occupying these spaces? It is educated women who are already empowered, like you and I, who do not exactly need that. But on the other hand, also, even empowered women like me, because the space is not yet invited space, the space is not yet open to us as we may seem, we still need to go slow. So we need affirmative action, yes, but we also need to do more than that. We need to know that if you open space for women to be in contracts, do women have money to? Are they economically empowered to bid for those kinds of contracts? They may not be.
Totally.
Because then they will say, we gave them opportunity, they didn't take it up. But then what else did you do to ensure that they can actually consume that space that you have given them?
So, away from that, at the end of the day, after you've done your work, what?
I saw that coming.
Yes. Oh really? You're surprised. What is it that makes you feel like, yes, that today was a great thing that I did at the end of your work day?
For me, always it is that I supported someone to complete their process. Sometimes it's a student who needed to complete the process of registration. Sometimes it's research, a student who is struggling with their research, and I have helped them look at their own study in a different way. That makes my day, because they've been struggling with their research. And I get so concerned that many students fail to complete, particularly postgraduate degrees, not for anything else, but because they can't complete their research. And research is not supposed to be so difficult that someone who has completed coursework is going to give up their degree because of one paper called research. So I feel bad enough about that I'm always willing to push myself to see who's struggling with what. And being head of department gives me a little bit of leverage now, that even if I'm not the supervisor of the student and they have a particular challenge with their research, I listen to them, I help them, I support them, I motivate them, I just encourage them to finish. Because I know that we live in a world where most people think that it doesn't matter what papers you have, you need to have relatives. But I am one person who has never had a job because somebody knew me, never. So I want people to have the opportunity, when the opportunity presents themselves, to be ready for it. That if they need a master's degree, you have it. And it's not, you're not going to regret and say that I wish I had completed my dissertation and then I would be ready for this opportunity. So we have to prepare people in all kinds of ways, have them really move beyond their struggles. All of us struggle with one thing or another, and somebody helps you in the process. And I see my role there as one of a supporting role, really. And as long as I've supported someone, I feel good.
You have a big heart. And you're a happy person. You should agree with one at least. You're a happy person.
Happy person, yes.
And a big heart.
Yeah.
That is Dr. Comfort, and it's her moment. It is indeed her moment. It's so nice to have her, and I believe you are really enjoying having her with us. Let's just take a break and then we'll be back.